Okay, so how can getting into running or aiming for an objective, how can that get you a better job? Now, I used to be in recruitment. I was in recruitment for 10 years and I mainly worked in the oil and gas industry, mainly recruiting people in the North Sea, in Norway and in Southeast Asia, geologists, engineers, structural engineers, piping engineers, designers, that kind of thing. And I also did some work in the UK, really early career in engineering, aerospace engineering, medical, automotive. And what strikes you when you get into recruitment and you're literally speaking to thousands of candidates every year is it's never the best person who gets the job. Or it's rarely the best person who gets the job. It's the person that's competent but can display themselves in the best possible way. So just because you're a great geologist, it doesn't mean that you're brilliant at describing articulately what you do on a day-to-day basis to a prospective employer. And so it's often the person that's done the preparation, that wants the job the most, that's able to show or demonstrate what they've done so far, how that correlates with the position, and what that would look like in the future. And so part of that process is naturally and it really is the best geologist. Like if you speak to a geologist, or if you speak to somebody who's somebody in IT and somebody who's constantly focused on data or information in some way, then the personality traits of that person to make them good at their job rarely puts them in a good light for interview. They rarely have the skills to interview really well in order to sell themselves and get the job. So you as a recruiter, you have to manage that, and you have to coach them through, which is really interesting because you get to speak to a lot of very, very talented people that have done brilliant things in their career, but are just not good at explaining that in a way that everybody can understand, and therefore it doesn't get them as far as they should get in their career often, unless they're spotted, which is essentially exactly the same now in the social media age within athletics, within running. Unless you are good at bragging about what you do, good at posting about what you do on social media, then you're probably not going to get spotted by a brand. And brands usually want the two things. They want you to be a great runner, and they want you to be a good marketeer, right? So the way that running can help you is often when people are writing, people in general, whatever they do, are often terrible at writing CVs. So become good at that, because that is the tool that will get you in the door. People often overwrite a CV. I would see CVs that were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. And it's like, you're writing War and Peace about what you've done so far, and you've had a 5-year career. It's not worth that. Ideally keep it to a page, and all it is a tool to get yourself an interview. So that's the first piece of advice that I'd give you. Even 3 pages is what are you going to be talking about? And I understand that, and people often talk about what they do in their role as opposed to what they achieved. So it's like, if I was to talk about my running career, my job was to run 100K. That's the same job as everybody else in that race. But what I achieved in that race, I won the race and I set a course record, that sets me aside from everybody else in that race. So that's the important stuff that you need to talk about, right? What you actually achieved in the role. So what were you brought in to do, and what did you actually achieve? So that's really important as well. But in terms of, it's a portion of the CV that a lot of employers look at, because it tells you a lot more about that person than just about what they are in life, what they are in their work life. It tells you what they are outside, and what how that would affect your internal culture that you've built within a company. And that's what you do outside the office. So employers are smart enough to know that people usually write on the CV stuff that people want to hear about, yeah? But you've got to be able to back that up within an interview. So if you say, for instance, you're fluent in Cantonese, and you get to the interview and there's a Cantonese speaking lady there and she's going to test you on that, you're probably going to look quite foolish. And not only are you going to look quite foolish, you're going to, the credibility of your entire CV and your entire career is going to go down the drain, right? So if you put onto your CV something that's like running, but not only do you run, because a lot of people will put run, I like exercising, I like running, I like going to the gym, but you need to quantify that. Yeah, you like running. How often do you run and what are your goals? What are you kind of passionate about? Put on there what you're passionate about. I'm really passionate about running. I got into running 2 years ago. I run 5 times a week. I run before work, which puts me in a really positive frame of mind every time I step into the office. It helps me with my productivity, my creativity. It helps me be a better colleague. It helps me better in my relationships. It helps me kind of solve problems whilst I'm out running. I'll often come up with ideas. If you put that onto your CV, and it's like, it's another avenue that company is then going to kind of be employing, that they're not just getting somebody who's a good IT manager or a good geologist or a good whatever you are. They're also getting somebody who's kind of thinking about stuff outside work and who's also kind of doing something that's healthy for their body and mind. So it puts you in a much stronger position mentally and physically for your work as well. So it's another added factor, and it's contagious. Running is contagious. If you then kind of like, if you put into into like what you do outside work, if you put that you're currently training for the Manchester Marathon or the London Marathon or the New York Marathon, whatever that is, then if you then move into that office and then they kind of, people see that you're kind of, maybe you've got a recovery drink or you're eating in a certain way, and then they'll ask you kind of what you like doing, and running naturally comes up in conversation, that becomes contagious. And if that positive effect in the office becomes contagious, other people start to, okay, I'm just going to get into running, what's your kind of advice? And you can advise them, just try to run for 1 minute and then walk for 1 minute and try and repeat that 10 times, then 15 times, then 20 times. Before you know it, you can run 5K. And then from there, kind of the sky's the limit, because if you can run 5K, you can run 500K. It's that simple. It really is as simple as that. If you can run 5K, then a marathon is just a case of training your endurance, right? So if you kind of put that and insert that into an office where the culture is maybe, okay, we go for drinks on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and we go for kind of drinks at the weekend, and that turns into like a drink fueled weekend, then that's brilliant when you're in your 20s and early 20s, and kind of creates a camaraderie in the office. And I've been involved in those offices when I was in my early 20s, and it's good fun, but it's not kind of sustainable over a long period of time. And as more mature people, more talented and more experienced people want to join the office, if they walk into an office where the extracurricular activities of the office are partying and kind of going out and drinking, then you kind of realize in those offices that people usually wake up on Wednesdays. They go out at the weekend, Friday turns into Saturday, turns into a Sunday, turns into a not in great performance on a Monday, not great performance on, and kind of Wednesday, they're kind of waking up and kind of trying to play catch up. You're already there and you're already ahead. And if you can kind of insert not only your positive influence on the office, that you kind of bring in something positive, that you like to do something positive about with your life outside work, first thing in the morning or after work, whenever it is you're doing, or people see you going out at lunchtime and running, then if that's contagious and other people start to do it, it's a great influence for that office. It's a fantastic thing to have on your CV, and it's a fantastic, and usually you will find that once you go for an interview, there will be somebody else in the room or within the interview process that also likes to run, or as at some point, I often get this, that at some point in their life, they've liked to run. They've kind of got involved in kind of chasing a 5K time or a 10K time or a marathon time. They've tried to do it because usually executives and kind of high level successful business people, they've got into something like, they've come from a sports background, or they've got into something like running because they like the idea of what they put in, they get out. They like that idea, and they like the idea of work ethic wins, persistence wins, resilience wins. So they'll know all those skills that you are constantly putting into effect day to day, getting up when it's raining, getting up when it's too hot, making it happen, all those things transfer really well into the business world. So that's a really positive thing. So it's in addition to everything I've just said, it's great for conversation, and it will put you in a good light, and people will remember you. Oh yeah, the guy who's kind of the guy who runs marathons, who's a geologist. That's the person that we want on the team, and it really will do you favors. So definitely mention it on your CV. Keep your CV short, because people just genuinely do not read CVs, yeah? So they'll kind of they'll skim read and go through, and if it's more than a couple of pages, you kind of like discount it anyway, unless you're an absolute rock star. So keep it to 1 to 2 pages. Have a footer in there that you really like to do that, and I put it along with what the other genuine stuff that I can talk about that I really enjoy doing. So I really enjoy reading, I really enjoy learning about stuff, I really enjoy self-development, and it's not just kind of, oh, it's just on the CV because that's what people like to hear. That's genuinely what I like to do. I really enjoy investing in things. So if you can put together those physical things like running together with things that you kind of mentally enjoy spending time on, you're going to come across really well in the interview. So yeah, good luck, and running will get you a better job. It's as simple as that.